Rail, for it. If we don't get rail, we don't get taxes for it.
I think that's a good rule of thumb.
We not get taxes.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Okay, that brings us to the next question. Rail, will you reject any form of tax designated or allowed for any type of new passenger rail?
Yeah, I don't think light rail works. I don't think it's got a future in this area.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying, just because I've been at a few meetings, okay? On this swap, it's not a swap. I've seen the numbers, it's double. It's gonna double the revenue, with the idea being that the tourists are gonna pay 25% of it. It's gonna double the revenue. And so the language, if you were to support this, needs to be that the difference on it will not in any way be allowed to be used for rail.
We probably will have to amend the bill when it gets to hearing then.
Yes.
because I don't see, now I would love to have mass transit. I'd love to be able to get on my car and take a rail. I'd love to be able to, but I don't want to pay for it. Not at the level I'm going to have to have it.
Exactly.
Because we don't have the density for the free market to be able to even support it to the state that we support roads. And that's, of course, going to be an even bigger issue, since really gas-efficient cars now are dropping the gas taxes so dramatically. And we may not have enough money to really maintain and build new roads as needed. So we're going to have a real problem there before too much longer.
Well, thank you for your input on that. Next question. Will you support drilling in the Gulf, and under what conditions?
What part of the Gulf? State waters? No. No, and I'll tell you two reasons why. One is we have a $70 billion tourism economy in the state of Florida. 70 billion with a B. 7 billion of that, and it may be down to 60 and 6 billion now in Pinellas County. And I got to tell you, that's a lot of jobs for a lot of people. You put oil on the beaches one time, and it's gone for 3 years. And that may be a minimum. I will tell you, other tourist destinations in Europe paid to put pictures of the Panhandle oil on the front page of newspapers in Berlin, London, Frankfurt, Paris, all the major cities in Europe. Florida was full of oil. Our European tourism dropped 20%. Now, I don't know what kind of business you're in, but if you have a 20% drop in a major segment of your business, you've got a problem. And they had a tough year, and they spent millions of dollars of cooperative advertising trying to convince the Europeans that we didn't have oil on the beaches here. And we have recovered finally from that, I think. Last I've heard, it's coming back. It's not completely back, but it's coming back. A lot of domestic tourism, fortunately, has made up for it. But the second reason that I don't support drilling in state waters is
state waters?
10 miles. There's no oil there. There's a little oil down around Naples, because I've seen the geologic maps where all the oil fields are already platted. There's a little oil field down around Naples, and it's half on land, half in the water. And they directionally drill, and we've got some producing oil wells down there. Now, they don't produce a lot of oil, because it takes a lot of pumping to get some oil out of there. But there is not a lot of oil there unless you go very deep in deep water, 100 or 200 miles off. Now, if you're 250 miles off, you're outside the loop current, and you're probably not going to do any damage to us. Like the well that blew out was just at the top of the loop current, and so it just pushed that oil right into the Panhandle and right into one of the big canyons, underwater canyons up there, which means we may see it again with a big enough hurricane. But if you drill any closer than that, and you don't follow the safety guidelines, and your well blows out, and we get 5 to 10 inches of oil on Pinellas County beaches, it'll be there for years. We had a barge. Everybody remember the barge that collided with another ship off Fort DeSoto? And we got a lot of oil on Fort DeSoto. It took us a good year to clean it up, and they are still, when they move sand around down there, they are still finding oil under the sand. It sticks around that long. We're not talking a temporary hit to the economy. We're talking a major blow. Because I got to tell you, as try as I might, I cannot support Larry's Ice Cream on St. Pete Beach. If it's not for the tourists, all those subsidiary businesses to the tourism trade die. And that is a major chunk of employment in this county. And I'm not going to run the risk of ruining a $6 to $7 billion economy because we can get some oil.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
College professor parents, what am I going to do?
Last question.
Having fun.
Florida is now a sanctuary state for illegals as compared to other surrounding states due to the failure on immigration legislation in the 2011 session. The U.S. Supreme Court recently endorsed a separate Arizona law requiring employers to use E-Verify. The court also ruled that Arizona could suspend or revoke business licenses of companies that knowingly hire illegal immigrants. In tackling illegal immigration in the 2012 session, will you support mandatory E-Verify for all Florida employers, hopefully from the first employee, enforcement at the street level by law enforcement officers, and enforcement in our schools? What is your stand on immigration with teeth?
Generally, I like what Alabama did. I will tell you, E-Verify, though, becomes expensive if you're a sole proprietor. I shouldn't have to E-Verify me, just to be perfectly blunt. There's got to be a reasonable threshold. If you're going to employ 50 people, maybe that's the threshold we pick, because you're a big enough business to maybe absorb that cost.
But that's where the problem is, Jim. It's the people that, it's the under 50. It's the roofers, it's the lawn people.
The farmers aren't under 50, I'll tell you. Any farmer worth his salt isn't.
What's the cost?
It would cost, last I heard, about $1,700.
No, like per person, how much is it per person?
That's what we were told.
Oh, no.
It's free.
You're kidding.
It's free?
It's
Free to $10. Go on their line.
You register?
You got wrong. You got different numbers than I got
It's a
then.
national database, it's free, you register and boom, you're in.
You're talking about E-Verify.
You
Yeah.
verify.
We pay 10, you pay 1,700.
That's ridiculous.
Well, that's what those were the numbers to set it up and run it. It was going to cost us that kind of money.
Somebody's lying to you.
Well, then
Yeah, because we're paying for that.
okay.
Expensive.
I mean, they were getting ready to charge us, and that was one of the reasons it failed in the Senate. I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong on that number, but I knew it was outrageous because I shouldn't have to E-Verify me.
Is Jack Barballa's company doing this?
Not that I know of. You mean E-Verifying
Well,
his employees, or
No, he's consulting in one of his businesses.
he is?
I don't know.
Oh, not to my knowledge. He's a printer. Printing is where he makes his money, and he has a car washer too, I think.
Well, you
But
know,
yeah, I think that we got to have some kind of system that'll work, and if we can do it for $10, that'll work. But we haven't been given that kind of information yet. When it got right down to it, the federal government was charging us a lot more. Now,
I do government procurement
I
databases
just
every day.
applied for training and I had to pay for my own background check through Pinellas County Public Schools.
Mhm.
That was $48 for a complete background check. So it sounds like somebody's trying
Well,
to make some big money on it.
well, and that probably is the case. I don't doubt it.
$200 hammers.
There you go, $200 hammers. Unfortunately, hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you.
well,
Is a cliche, but I am absolutely in favor
I
of some
think-
immigration reform with
good,
teeth.
yeah, well, and
Because we've got to do something, but it's got to be something that makes
the
sense.
employers have got to be,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
because the employers are the problem.
that's right.
They are
employers
the
problem.
attraction. Now,
And it can't be under 50, Jim. I mean, because that's where all the problems are, is this little small enterprises that are out here running around on the streets that are doing
Drywall.
drywall, roofing.
okay, I get your point. And
Yeah, so
maybe we pick an industry and say, in this industry, you've got this threshold. But in this industry, if you're a real estate broker,
They're
I have to
very out working in the
E-Verify
yards.
do I have to E-Verify all my real estate agents who are already licensed by the state?
In other words, I think the modified question would be, would you support E-Verify at what price?
At $10 a pop, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Would you do it if it was $20?
And we're starting to run up money if you got 100 real estate agents.
So that's
They
Yeah,
can pay it
and
themselves.
we're
They're
talking
no, wait a
about real
minute.
estate
Real
agents.
estate agents are independent contractors. They could pay that themselves.
If I'm a broker, they're working for me.
No,
They're independent
They're-
contractors.
They're independent contractors for tax purposes,
No, they pay.
but
They pay.
if, all right, I'm gonna charge them for E-Verify, they're already licensed by the state. Why should I have to do that?
But it's a one-time fee, right? Once you're E-verified, then,
Well, it's a one-time fee with that employer.
yeah.
And when I talk about real estate.
Anyway, I was.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's, you can't do it blanket, you've got to do it where it makes sense. Because I got to tell you, a real estate agent that's already licensed, or a physician that's already licensed by the state, why do you have to
Well,
E-Verify?
that should have already been handled at the state level.
Well, see, that's what we've got to adjust in the bill,
Yeah.
because we were just going to do everybody. If you employed anybody, including yourself, you had to E-Verify.
I'll be happy
And
to
it didn't make
verify
sense.
myself.
Yeah.
As a business owner, I'd be happy to pay the 20, 50, you know, to
Well, I
be-
want something that makes sense, because when you start passing laws that are just blanket laws, 10 years later, you find out you've made some unintended consequences.
Why can't you do E-Verify like a school transcript? Once it's done, it's done.
Yeah, exactly. Once it's done, you carry it to your next employer, whatever, you got it.
Well, I don't know how that works, but that'd be something, you know, if that's the way it works, but we're talking, the bill we were looking at
Are you timing?
said every time you as the
Okay.
employer,
All right.
every time you as the employer hire somebody, you have to do it.
This was a,
Okay, thank you.
Very much.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and Robin was right, it's hot in here.
Well, we really
I
appreciate your
will,
response.
I appreciate what y'all do. Like I said, we have a participatory democracy, and it doesn't work if you don't participate. So thank y'all for taking the time. I will tell you that people who do not believe as we do are taking the time.
Oh, yeah.
They're out there and they're working hard, and some of them are paid to be out there and be activists. I have seen some local city council races where they're pouring tons of money in behind people because that's going to be their training ground to move to higher office.
Right,
Get involved at every level, please,
right.
and do everything you can to make sure that the system works. And if you got a problem with an answer I've given, call me, because I'm available. I'm probably the only candidate you'll ever see that puts his cell number on his campaign literature.
Great.
So, and I've done it for years. Everybody says you're nuts. The people who call it, though, appreciate the fact that I answer the phone. So,
We appreciate that.
Bring business cards tonight, right?
I've got some business cards right
Yeah,
here.
well, yeah, you can take a minute and hand those out.